Pennsylvania lies on top of a natural gas reserve called the Marcellus Shale, which can only be accessed with hydraulic fracturing, more commonly known as fracking. Fracking is a point of debate in our area because Pennsylvania possesses 2,916 fracking wells. While natural gas production can boost our economy and provide a cleaner alternative to coal or oil, it also creates risks to nature and human health, such as by water contamination. According to EEC Environmental, fracking began in the 1940s but was not widespread until 2003. In 2005, Congress exempted fracking from the Safe Drinking Water Act. As the number of fracking wells increased, fracking began to be covered by media, making it a public controversy.
Minimal emissions and only for a very brief period of time.
The fracking process begins by drilling a well 7,000 feet deep, then drilling horizontally for approximately 1,000 feet. The hole, which is around 12 inches wide, is lined with several layers of steel piping and cement to guide the gas and prevent contaminating drinking water. A mixture of sand, chemicals, and water is pumped through the steel pipes at 9,000 psi. The mixture fractures the rock, the sand holds the cracks open, and the chemicals alter the viscosity of the mixture, prevent bacteria growth, and help hold the cracks open. The chemicals that remain deep underground are harmless because they cannot get into the aquifers or drinking water. However, chemicals that are pumped to the surface can be dangerous, so this wastewater is recycled, stored, or treated. According to the Energy Information Administration, the United States contains approximately 2,552 trillion cubic feet of gas, which could last the country 50 to 100 years.
While there is much cause for debate on the topic of fracking, the overwhelming majority of its supporters tout the vast economic benefits fracking provides. Indeed, numerous sources and studies have concluded that fracking is generating jobs, additional revenue, and stimulating our economy. According to an IHS Cambridge Energy Research Associates report, hydraulic fracking of natural gas has added $283 billion to the nation's gross domestic product, the equivalent of raising the average household income by more than $1,200. In addition, this report stated that 2.1 million jobs were created in 2012 as a result of fracking, with the Marcellus Shale project in Pennsylvania generating 44,000 of those jobs. Hydraulic fracking is reaching rural areas all over the nation, creating little boom towns, areas that have experienced an uncharacteristic rise in the real estate market and boast lower unemployment rates than anywhere else in the U.S. One such example of this is Steubenville, Ohio, which recently introduced fracking into their local community. There, many residents are ecstatic by the recent economic growth within their neighborhood and thankful to the fracking industry for providing them with jobs and a steady income. While these stories are heartwarming and speak highly of the fracking development, Dr. Tim Kelsey, professor of agriculture economics at Penn State, who has been following the economic effect of Marcellus Shale since 2008, warns that these stories don't report the entire financial impact of fracking.
The majority of the employment effects are only during the drilling activity itself, and once the drilling is done, there's very little residual employment that remains in the communities with activities.
Nevertheless, because of fracking, we now have more natural gas than we know what to do with. According to John Rumpler, senior attorney at Environment America, gas companies are rigorously pursuing export licenses because the U.S. is completely meeting its natural gas needs and more. Any additional fracking we pursue is all being exported out of the country.
So we'll drive by the companies to be able to be allowed to export the natural gas overseas. And as soon as you do that, then we lose that energy independence.
While there certainly are immense financial benefits to fracking, they tend to only last while the drilling is good. Wells can last for up to 40 years, however, most of the natural gas is tapped in the first couple years. According to Tim Kelsey, if a fracking industry finds that it is no longer cost-effective to remain at a well, They may just cut their losses and leave a well early, sometimes devastating communities which expected a financial boom to last forever. He says, the thing people need to realize is that fracking is a short-term venture, and not a full-time economic boost. The economic importance of fracking is a major factor in its debate, but it is certainly not the entire debate. Some economists worry that we are putting too much weight in material wealth, and are forgetting to measure the economic worth of our environment.
One major environmental problem is the possible link between fracking and earthquakes. Regions that have more fracking wells also experience earthquakes more frequently. The reason for this is that pumping fracking fluids underground changes the underground pressures and can lubricate fault lines, thus increasing the likelihood of earthquakes. In March, 2 earthquakes occurred in Poland Township near a fracking well along the Pennsylvania border with magnitudes of 2.6 and 3.0. Over the past few years, the number of earthquakes has increased drastically. There were 50 earthquakes that were over magnitude 3.0 in 2009, 87 earthquakes in 2010, and 134 earthquakes in 2011. Furthermore, the U.S. Geologic Survey found a link between drilling natural gas and a series of earthquakes from Alabama to the Rocky Mountains.
A large portion of the debate against fracking comes from its use of chemicals. According to the House of Representatives Committee on Energy and Commerce, between 2005 and 2009, 780 million gallons of fracking chemicals were pumped into the ground under our country. The chemicals used for fracking are not regulated, and 780 different chemical mixtures are used. Of those 780 chemical mixtures, 652 of them contain carcinogens, or are unsafe, and are regulated by the Safe Drinking Water Act or the Clean Air Act. 13 different carcinogens can be found in 151 of these different chemical mixtures. A large amount of these chemicals remains underground after the fracking process, which provides no health concern because it is too deep underground to reach aquifers or drinking water. However, if the pipes crack and leak chemicals close to the surface, the chemicals can get into drinking water. Another concern is the potential for chemical spills. There were 3 spills between 2009 and 2011. One spill released 8,000 gallons of fracking chemical mixture in Dimrock, PA, which is 157 miles away from here, according to MapQuest. Many fracking company spokespeople, including Doug Hawk from Pavilion Wells, deny the links between fracking and water pollution. However, in 2011, the EPA stated that fracking was indeed causing water contamination. On the other hand, natural gas is better for the environment than other fossil fuels. It produces 3/4 the amount of carbon dioxide as gasoline and half as much carbon dioxide as coal. However, it is common for wells to leak methane, a greenhouse gas, into the atmosphere. According to Robert Howarth from Cornell University, 8% of methane is lost to the atmosphere during the fracking process. Kathy Flaherty, a geologist for Abarta Energy, disagrees.
There's minimal emissions and only for a very brief period of time.
Hydraulic fracturing for natural gas has both benefits and disadvantages. On one hand, it provides a cleaner alternative to coal or oil and boosts the nation's economy, while on the other, it poses an increased risk for seismic activity and the leakage of hazardous chemicals. Do the benefits of fracking outweigh these risks? That question will continue to be the source of much debate over the next few years.